Welcome back to the channel. We got this story from Common Dreams. Welcome back to the Socialist report. We got deadly winter storms highlight the necessity of ending homelessness. So let's just get right into it. This article is from Doug Shahinkelberg. The good news is we know how to end homelessness. It is not a mystery. Just before Christmas, much of the United States was hit by an extraordinary weather event, Winter Storm Elliott in Chicago. We saw temperatures that dipped down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit with wind chills that hit below negative 40 on the backs of 40-mile-per-hour winds. Such weather is dangerous to everyone, but is particularly dangerous to people experiencing homelessness in our streets. Regardless of how good a person's tent, gloves, hat, and coat are, it is impossible to stay safe and warm in those conditions for more than a few minutes. Adding that many people experiencing homelessness are dealing with health issues due to limited access to regular health care, and we have incredible cause for concern. We solve homelessness through housing, affordable housing. For example, in Chicago, the city mounts an emergency response that involves utilizing a series of warming centers, including using public libraries and park field houses, paired with a 311 call system that will dispatch people to do wellness checks on those in danger and take them to a place they can be safe and warm, if they so choose. This system is far from perfect, but the hardworking city and nonprofit employees who assist those experiencing homelessness in these moments are doing life-saving work. While the homeless services community must always be looking at how we improve our emergency response in moments of crisis, the best place for us to put our time, energy, and resources establishing the deep funding and strong policies necessary for creating the permanent housing and supports that people living on the streets and shelters and living doubled up need. Extreme weather events such as the one we just experienced are not going away. To the contrary, climate change only means that they are expected to continue to increase in frequency and intensity. In order to combat this reality, we must build a resilient system that minimizes the number of people in harm's way when these events occur. The good news is we know how to end homelessness. It is not a mystery. We solve homelessness through housing, affordable housing and supports to attend people's health and well-being. Study after study shows people stay out of homelessness when they have access to permanent housing they can afford. Our question isn't what do we do, but where do we find the political will to do it? The latest omnibus federal funding bill passed by Congress included a 13.1% increase in homelessness assistance grants, as well as other increases in existing programs. While this increase is promising, it does not meet the need we see across the nation. At the same time, the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness released its new strategic plan, All In, which sets the goal of reducing unsheltered homelessness by 25% by 2025, focusing both on getting people cut out of homelessness and preventing them from entering it to begin with. The plan rightly centers equity and focus on coordination across federal agencies and different levels of government. While these are promising steps toward focus on the core issue, it's not enough. The scope and depth of funding must be increased on the federal, state, and local levels, and policies need to be changed to make it easier to build the affordable housing people need and for those in need to access that housing. On the federal policy level, aside from increasing funding, Congress should pass the Homeless Children and Youth Act, which reforms HUD homeless assistance programs by aligning federal definitions of homelessness, allowing children, youth, and families access to the services they need. Such a change would make it easier for people experiencing all forms of homelessness, including doubled up, to access help to prevent them from moving into unsheltered homelessness, which increases exposure to extreme weather. Creating robust local funding is another critical component to creating resiliency. In Chicago, for example, the Bring Chicago Home campaign has been working for years to create a local, dedicated funding stream at scale that would create funding for permanent housing and supports as well as homelessness prevention that could generate $130 million annually to serve not only the unsheltered homeless, but also those living doubled up with others. All right, need to make a point here. This is like the richest country on earth. To think that we have homelessness and at the scale that it's at is ridiculous. We need jobs that actually pay a living wage. We need universal basic income would be ideal, but it should not replace all other welfare. But we need a social safety net to keep people from becoming homeless in the first place. You should not have to work more than one job in the world's richest country. And we need, I prefer free housing, nationalized free housing, or public housing. And we need nationalized health care, free to everyone, not just affordable health care, because you shouldn't have to pay for health care. Health care is a human right. And there's a lot we could do to combat homelessness, but neither party wants to do that. What they'd rather do is fund the war machine. They'd rather fund the military-industrial complex, fund Lockheed and Raytheon and all the other military contractors and weapon makers. But let's continue. This initiative requires voter approval of a ballot question, but both Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot and her allies on city council have reportedly blocked the measure. Similar measures have been created in cities and states across the nation. These are just two examples of where there has apparently not been the political will to enact proactive policies and funding needed to reduce the scope of future crises. The best way to ensure people are protected when harm comes is to ensure they aren't in harm's way to begin with. For homelessness, we do that by creating affordable housing at scale for people experiencing homelessness in its many forms. Another thing to combat homelessness is fixing our prison system and our justice system altogether, ending the war on drugs, abolishing the police. That doesn't 100% have to do with the homeless crisis, but the police tend to target the homeless more than anyone. So abolishing the police, completely revamp our prison systems, make them more humane, make them more first of all, get rid of private prisons altogether, make them make them functionable for colder weather. I can't think of the word. Insulated, but I don't really think that works. But make prisons more humane. Focus on rehabilitation rather than punishment. Help them get jobs once they're released from prison. And about the war on drugs, if you end the war on drugs, people on drugs will not be going to prison, most likely, except for ones that got into crime, along with drug addiction. But a lot of people solely in prison for drug addiction won't be in prison, and therefore drugs won't be. And if you abolish the police, you won't have police in there that are in that with these drug lords and whatnot, and drugs would not be in the prison. So there's a lot to be done to combat homelessness, to combat poverty altogether, not just homelessness even. In America, we could end poverty if we focused on taxing the rich into the ground and cutting military funding, cutting police budgets. We could end poverty and violent crime would go down significantly. It also passed a law where you can't go to jail unless you actually hurt someone. If you actually hurt someone, then you go to jail. But a lot of these laws just target people that are only hurting themselves. If they're only hurting themselves, they should not be going to prison. These are just two examples where this has apparently not been the political will to enact the proactive policies and funding needed to reduce the scope of future crises. The best way to ensure people are protected when harm comes is to ensure they aren't in harm's way to begin with. For homelessness, we do that by creating affordable housing at scale for people who experience homelessness in its many forms. If our elected officials focused on practical measures to end homelessness instead of reactive ways to manage it, the next bomb, cyclone, polar vortex, or extreme weather storm might not be so dangerous and deadly. Now, I, of course, as a socialist, I don't think Common Dreams goes far enough when they're talking about this topic, because let's remember, they're social democrats. They want to reform capitalism. They're not anti-capitalism. They just want to reform capitalism and kind of mix it with socialism. But that's going to conclude this video. Thank you for watching. Tell me what your thoughts are down in the comments below. See you guys in the next one, and peace out. This has been the Socialist Report.